All right, Trails Collective crew. Ian here with the weekly rundown of what's been shaking in the Northeast trail running scene for the week ending May 7th, 2021. All right, hopefully this finds you all out, enjoying some sunshiny days, weather breaking, getting out for some adventure. Looks like a lot of events are posting back up, running, are able to run this year. So hopefully you're all looking forward to the summer ahead. So tonight, or this episode, I will run you through something that caught my eye in the media, some registrations opening, some registrations about to cap out, and we will bring you some voices from an FKT from last week, as well as some of the results from several of the races that have run in the past couple weeks. And then we will take you out with a couple of events on deck for this weekend. So pretty full episode again. We will have in the show notes some of the times listed in case you want to jump ahead to different sections or individuals. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks as always for sharing, and thanks in advance to all of you who are on as Patreon supporters. Thanks so much. All right, so this week in the media, Chris O'Brien released episode 100 of the Running Inside Out podcast. Chris was doing these podcasts before probably most people are doing podcasts in the trail and ultra space. So fittingly with the title of his 100th episode, with the title of 100, It Can Be Life-Changing with Pete Kresock. Chris and Pete are wonderful individuals, and Pete's put in a whole heck of a lot of trail miles over the past decade and a pretty integral part of our community. So check that out, and we'll have a link for Running Inside Out podcast. Give it a listen. All right, registration is about to open this week. One of the oldest and longest running trail events in our region offers a 25K, 50K, and 50-mile option over a pretty just mildly rolling course. Had some pretty muddy years, but a pretty otherwise scenic and pretty fast course. The Finger Lakes 50s is one that opens this week or yesterday, depending on when I can get this episode out. It's on Wednesday the 5th is when it goes live. It traditionally has sold out nearly immediately, so get on it now if interested. And that typically, and I think still runs the first weekend or like July 4th weekend, somewhere in there. So check that out. And another one opening this week, this Friday the 7th, Algonquin 50K. The RD will tell you that it's a bit of a dumpster fire of an event, but I think it's quite the cult classic of one of the ones in the region. Really good community around it. Slated for February 12th, 2022. This is for next year's race. Opens also, again, Friday, May 7th. So get on that. All right, the UltraSignUp Hotlist. So for events about to cap out, that if you are interested in a last-minute event, either one coming right up or one that is slated for later but about to fill up, we've got a handful here. Cook Forest 25K Trail Challenge in Cooksburg, PA, slated for August 21st, 97% full, and it'll cap by this weekend. The Bloodroot Ultra in Pittsfield, Vermont, May 16th, coming right up, is 95% full. Eastern Divide 50K, I think they slightly redid their course this year, but it seems like a pretty cool event. Slated for June 19th in Pembroke, Virginia, is 92% full. The Midstate Massive Ultra Trail 30-miler in New Ipswich, New Hampshire, is 94% full, with a 100-miler nearing the warning track at 89%. And the Run Amok 50K, slated for October 17th in Brownsville, Vermont, is nearing the warning track as well at 89% full. All right, so getting into some results out there. Let's start with FKTs. We just have a few this week. In Massachusetts, Scott Nadeo and Keith Eisenman, 2 hours, 28 minutes for the 19-mile Battle Road Trail. Per the FKT site, it says it's one steeped in Revolutionary War history. Richie Rodriguez set the initial course or mark. And this for Scott and Keith is an opening unsupported men's mark for the route. Also in Massachusetts, Cameron Cogburn, 1 hour 55 minutes for the 23K Manusnock Ridge Trail. This route was originally established by Ian Ridgway a year ago. I think I remember announcing it. And it's seen some fast progression of times through the last year from Ben Nephew, Ryan Williams, Steve Lewandowski, and now Cameron. So nice work, Cameron, lowering that time further. In New Jersey, Kevin Scott, 2 hours 10 minutes for the 17-mile Blue Mountain Trail in the beautiful Stoke State Forest. And in PA, one that we had announced a week or so ago, I think last week's clip, one from an individual who's probably accumulated last year more elevation gain for 2020 than nearly anyone on Earth, if you all remember that. the genuine and wonderful James Blandford. So he established one on an FKT section close to his house in PA, and he was able to tune in. Jim, cue us in on the FKT.
Hello, it's Jim Blandford from Hamburg, Pennsylvania. I'm here to talk about my FKT that I set on April 24th, 2021. I did the Port Clinton to the Lehigh Gap section. It's a 40-mile route with a lot of rocks and about 6,000 feet of vertical. That morning of the attempt, I quick scrambled to get a crew and asked my wife, and she said she would help me. And my friend Ryan said he would hop in around halfway, which was a great help. So him and my wife then worked the rest of it and met me at a lot of road crossings. I had a friend, Canal, that came out to, he was doing his own run that day and wound up meeting me and running about 2 miles with me. And I had another friend surprise me at the end to run me in about the last mile and a half. That was Justin. And that was also a great surprise, and it really gave me a boost at the end just to, hammer it home. And there were no supported times for this route, so I was the first one to have a supported time. There was an unsupported time by Luke, and he did a 7:41, which is a great unsupported time. And there's a self-supported time by my friend Kathleen. She did that 2 times in the last year, right around 9:03 and 9 hours. I think she lowered it by like 3 minutes the last time she did it. These are some of my trails that I run all the time. I never did the section from 309 to the Gap, so that was going to all be new to me, and I just been hearing over the years of how rocky it was, so I really built it up in my head that it was going to be a lot worse than it actually really was. There's tons of rocks on this, so if you love rocks, come down and run this route and try to take that away from me. I'd love to see it get lowered. It's a great route, really keeps you focused. Do it on a dry day would be my thoughts about the whole thing, because my course was dry and wasn't wet. Those rocks are going to be slippery if it's raining, so take that into account if you ever decide to do this route. I was trained pretty well coming into this. It was kind of a last minute decision, but I knew I was running pretty well. So I gave it everything I could and used it as like I would running a race. We had the 8 stations and they met me every 5 miles, so I didn't have to carry a ton of weight while I was out there, and pretty much went pretty light. And the rocks were really grippy the whole time, so I wasn't worrying about slipping. And I wound up running 6 hours, 58 minutes, and 19 seconds. So I'm very happy with that, but I'd love to see some other faster guys, some good rock runners come down and run it and drop that time.
All right, getting into results from events that have run. The Thunder Chicken Squatch, put on by the Squatchy Crew, or the Sassquad Trail Crew, ran May 1st in Branchville, New Jersey, with 7 and 17 mile options. Overall 7-mile win went to Mario Rodriguez, eked out the victory by 10 seconds over Scott Norris. Renee Perry for the women's win, and Kevin Scott and Lauren Longfield took the 17-mile wins, each establishing new course records. Well done. Dixon's Revenge ran on April 24th. We had mentioned at the time in the results for that weekly episode. I'm stoked, though, that we got a clip in this week from women's Canicross division winner Haley Heinrich. So I don't know, for those of you who are not tuned in to Canicross, I think it looks pretty awesome. So Haley, cue us into Canicross.
Hi there. My name is Haley Heinrich, and I am a trail and mountain runner, and also recently a Canicross racer from New Hampshire. This is Kato. He is my 7-year-old Siberian Husky, and this is Andy's right above him. He is my 2-year-old Akita Golden Husky Boxer mix. And we're here to tell you a little bit about our first Canicross race, which was the Dixon's Trail Race put on by 603 in Rollinsford, New Hampshire. My friend had asked me if he could borrow a dog for it, and I said yeah, and then I decided myself that I can't just have one dog do it, so I decided to take the other dog. I let Jim use Kato. Kato, come here. Kato is a much better listener, and even for 7 years old, he is fast and he is great on the belt leash. I have had him on belt leash for years and years, even before he was able to run, just to practice walking on it, and even just around the house using the belt leash to, like, with him on it, to fold laundry and just have him adjust to my body movement and me adjust to his. And I really do think there's a lot to that, because we make a pretty good team, and he does pretty well on it, including running up and down mountains, which is great. So Andy's a little new to it, and he is great off leash, but oh my gosh, he does not always love being on the belt leash, unless it's his terms, which is sniffing every single thing in the world. I've learned that over time you let the dog sniff beforehand to go to the bathroom, and then they're usually a faster runner, and they're ready to run at that point. I never really had that problem with Kato, but he's stubborn. He's a little bit more stubborn than Kato. So I decided to sign up for this, and I said, Jim, you can use Kato. Again, he's better listener, and I don't know what Andy's is going to do. He might finish the race. He might stop and decide he's all done, and that's okay. I've seen him run off leash, and he's super fast, but on leash, again, maybe not his thing. So this race was a 5K open rail trail, which was nice. The beginning, it's a lollipop loop. So you go out, do a little bit of a loop in the woods, which is a little bit more technical, and then back on the same track that you started on, which is a nice wide open rail trail. And so I didn't know what this was gonna look like, but all the dogs took off. There was one guy ahead of us that just absolutely flew, probably doing about a 4:30, 4:50, I don't know, pace first mile. And so Kato and Jim and another woman, her dog, were slightly ahead of me, and they were doing about 5:15, 5:30 pace. And I looked at my watch, I think it was around 5:30, 5:40 for the first mile. So fortunately, after that, they decided to slow down on the more technical spot, which was nice, because I didn't expect to be working or moving that fast during this. I thought this was going to be a little bit less of a workout than it turned out to me. But at the second mile, you immediately just go right into this giant mud puddle, and Jim slipped and fell in. Kato doesn't like to get dirty, so he was able to stay on the side somehow and keep himself clean, but Jim went down pretty well in there and got quite dirty. Luckily I was behind him, so that didn't happen to me. I caught myself right before. But even with the dogs stopping and getting water at that point, they still managed to run their second mile around a 7:30 pace, which that was pretty impressive, because it was a little bit more technical in there. So the third mile, it's a little bit of a gradual down, which was nice too, after a little bit of up, but it wasn't bad.
Good job!
And
Good job,
I really thought Jim and Kato they had this at least second overall, and Andy's just turned up, and we started going for it, and right at the end, Andy's passed Kato. Kato is really competitive, so I don't want him to hear this part, but we ended up getting second overall, and Kato was third. But they had a great time, and I was really impressed with the course and just everyone out there. It was a lot of fun. It was a good time, and these guys really ran hard, and that was our first Canicross race.
Athletic Equations 24-hour ATR Fest. This is one that ran April 17th and 18th, which I had just missed, but it was their 15th year of the ATR, or Adventure Trail Run. Here to cue us into the ATR is RD, Alex P, and 24-hour finisher John Krause. Cue us in, guys.
Hey folks, how's it going? Alex Papadopoulos here, bringing you a race recap of our 24-hour ATR Trail Fest that we hosted on the 17th and 18th of April. The 24-hour Trail Fest consists of a solo 24-hour trail race, along with a 50K, 100K, and then a 8-hour night run. Bringing in top honors for the 50K was Jeremy Garner. He crushed it in 4:50 for the men. And second overall was Karen Dunn, and first top female in 4 hours and 57 minutes. Top honors in the 100K went to Laura Linville in 14:34, and then we had Adam Van Almen bringing it in at 13:04. In the 8-hour night run, we had two folks hitting the 50K plateau in 8 hours, and that was Shea Merritt out of Florida and Jeremy Wolf out of Pennsylvania. Bringing in top honors now, coming in for the 24-hour solo trail run. That was Scott Snell out of Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, and he killed it in 103.1 miles. That's the first time in 10 years that we've had someone crest the 100-mile plateau. Bringing in top honors for the women was Brenda McMullen out of Reston, Virginia, and she had a great day out there, bringing in 81.3 miles. This course is very unique. It's held in Prince William Forest Park. We rent out this beautiful campground now, going on 15 years. The weather was ideal. The course itself it's a 10K loop. It's all single track, with the exception of a little bit of fire road as you start off and running through grassy fields running through the middle of the campground, where we've got a tent city. We've got a huge pavilion that functions as our main aid station. And of course, in this day and age, this is our fourth race under COVID, and we follow protocols very, very strictly. So with that said, I'd like to wrap it up and pass it off to John Krause, who's been a 3-time participant over our 15 years, to give you his race experience. For those of you looking for an athletic equation of race, you can check us out at athletic-equation.com. Our next run coming up is the OSS CIA 50-mile night run, which will be held on June 12 and 13. If you are interested, hurry on up. We've got about 15 slots left. Take care, and I know I'll be seeing all of y'all on the trails here soon. Take care.
My name is John Krause. I'm with Motivation Theory Running, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about my experience with the 24-hour adventure trail run. Now, I love the atmosphere of this race, the interloopal format, and the convenience of being able to kind of crew for yourself, the opportunity to stage in a cabin or a huge pavilion or a canopy if you want to set one up, and the cheers from the tent city. Each lap are awesome. It's nice to be able to have people sit there and cheer you on as they're waiting for their runners, or their runners that are just sitting out there waiting to go on their next loop, or they've even finished their own race. So all the race volunteers were absolutely awesome, and the aid station was on point. The food offerings are always fantastic with athletic equation races. Part of that makes the home base another challenge for this course. As the hours pass and night falls, and the good food and the smile from the crews and loved ones it really makes venturing back out onto the course that much harder. So one thing I have learned about running this race multiple times is it always makes you leave a little bit on your plate, like improving your self-management, your hydration, your fueling, moving faster through the aid station or on the trail itself. Those minutes really add up after 24 hours. All these variables really make you want to adjust, make a new plan, come back and do it better next year. So outside of the beautiful trails and the great conversations with good people, my 3 favorite things this year were the pierogies, the hot soup, and the fireplace. And if you've run this race before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This year I completed 10 laps for 62.5 miles. I got to better that next year. So I will see you all out there next year. Take care and be safe.
And then one that ran this past weekend, put on by friend Sean Runbum Blanton. One of his beautiful courses was run, it's Grayson Highlands, run in mouth of Wilson, Virginia. Some fast times were run, evading those ponies on the course, with Caleb Brown setting a new course record of 6:55 for the 50-miler. If I remember right, mapping them, each of these courses I think run short, but still pretty fast runs regardless. In a new course record of 6:55, and Aiden St. Charles, if I pronounce your first name correctly, for the women in 8:20. Both established new course records. For the 50K, Lee Jarvis and Holly Ann Swan took the overall men's and women's win. Holly Ann also set a new women's course record. I did reach out to via Facebook, but didn't hear back. But if she does happen to catch that message and sends me a clip, I would love to plug a clip maybe next week of her Grayson win. And for the half, Rebecca Johnson took the overall in 2:18, with the top male going to Bobby Bottoms. Bobby Bottoms, that is a fantastic name there. Well done, if I might say so myself. And thanks to Caleb for sending over this clip, cueing us in on the Grayson Highlands and your new 50-mile course record run.
Hello, my name is Caleb Bowen, and this is my cat Emma. See you, Emma. And just wanted to introduce myself. I'm the assistant cross-country and track coach here at Marshall University. We're located in southeast West Virginia, in Huntington. And I'm a Huntingtonian, been a West Virginian resident my whole life. And this weekend I had a great opportunity to run the Grayson Highlands 50-miler. And in that race I was able to finish first overall and had a great time. It was such an amazing race. Like, I can't even imagine a more beautiful race. I mean, it was so pretty. So I guess I'll give a little bit of background. This was my first race since November of 2020. I was able to run the Rim to River 100-miler, which is my first 100-miler. Really the first race over 40 miles for me. So, I spent a lot of the winter actually recovering from that race because it took a lot out of me. I was able to win that race too and run 18 hours and 24 minutes. So, being able to win my first 100-miler, it is actually the first 100-miler in West Virginia. So that was really special. Definitely a big race for me. So most of the winter I spent recovering and getting back into the groove again. And then, started picking up some mileage in the, early spring and was able to get some good 20 to 21 mile long runs in on the trails. So going into this race, I maybe didn't have enough volume that I would have liked, but overall I felt pretty prepared for it. I actually signed up for it after my running partner, Holly Ann Swan, who actually won the 50K for the females this year for the Grayson Highlands 50K. She was the one who got me into this race, and we trained together and ran a lot of the miles together. So it was kind of cool to train for the same race that she was doing. And it was awesome to be able to finish the race, and then she told me that she won as well. And actually she got second overall, so that was really big. Really proud of her there. But yeah, I mean, I guess talk about the race. It was started off at 6 a.m. and really didn't even need a light because it was so, the sun was rising at that point. And we went straight down a hill, and then we got onto the trails. I was able to see the wild ponies, which are very famous in that area. And then on, just up and down, up a mountain, down a mountain, up a mountain, over some pastures. I ended up getting a little lost. It took a wrong turn, which is totally my fault. But overall, I got back on track and overall made up for it. I guess if I had one word of advice to anybody wanting to run the Grayson Highlands 50K or 50 mile, be prepared for a 4-mile long hill at the very end. It's awful. I was very excited at the last aid station because I was feeling pretty good, feeling fresh, feeling like I could run for a good 10 more miles. And then going up that hill was just exhausting. The sun zapped my energy, going up the hill zapped my energy, and everybody was just walking up, and I was just trying to run, walk for most of it. But man, it took a lot out of me. But overall, I mean, great experience. I'm very, very happy I was able to run this race. So definitely recommend for next year if you guys want a really pretty, very hilly race. It's definitely a good one, and hopefully I'll be able to do it too. So see you then.
And then another one that ran in Virginia this past weekend in Skylark, offering 25, 50K, and 100K options, was UROC, or the Ultra Race of Champions. 25K wins went to Sean Leahy and Mary Sketch. The 50K wins, probably taking the overall win for best name maybe ever, would be Seabiscuit Horseman for the men, which, if you ask me, kind of like Bobby Bottoms, is another fantastic name, and no doubt making their parents proud. Nice work, Seabiscuit. I did look you up on Facebook, and you don't have a profile, so clearly you can't truly exist if you're not on Facebook, but that's a pretty fantastic name anyway. 100K, or the times were 3:32 and 4:18 respectively. The 100K, which has occupied one of the higher profile slots in marketing and top end field over the years. I think it's maybe started in Virginia, if I remember right, and then moved out to Colorado and then around a little bit and then came back to settle in Virginia where they've stayed, is the 100K distance. Although the depth wasn't quite there this year, I think some of the top ranked females were Canadian, and I'm assuming couldn't make it down with the border crossing. But the quality of the wins were still there. Congrats to David Hedges. He is fresh off a Wild Oak Trail FKT marathon from, I think, a week or two ago as his final build-up. And one of the most amazing runners of our region that our region can claim over the course of any amount of time, Aliza LaPierre on the women's 100K win. So David and Aliza, thanks for checking back in and cueing us into UROC and how your races shook out.
Hey, this is David Hedges. I won UROC last weekend, UROC 100K, and I'm recently became an athlete ambassador for Innovate. I'm a graduate student right now and doing, Zoom university type thing. So, I had to be back in Chicago for most of my training leading up to UROC, which was a little tricky, but I got it done, did some long runs in Wisconsin and stuff like that. Took a trip to Arizona to see some family, which was great for training, and then headed out to Virginia early to just do some trails there. I was a little worried that I couldn't really, I hit it big a week or in 2 weeks before UROC, and then sort of did a mini taper, but it worked out good. And the race started at 5 p.m. I took it out in the lead in front. Didn't blow any, or didn't, burn too many matches really. I felt like it was pretty easy, but led for like a quarter of the race, and then Stefano Ruza caught up on this long uphill. The course was this COVID alternate course, so it was mostly on like crushed limestone roads. And so basically there was a really long descent, sort of mild descent, and then climb back up it. And you do that twice. So Stefano caught up to me on that first 10-mile climb up to the Blue Ridge Parkway again, essentially, and we ran then for 40 miles together or so. And then I just had been fueling really well, feeling well, feeling good. Legs were hurting, but I got a nice spurt of energy with like 2 miles to go, and just dropped Stefano on the last climb and descent and won by just 3 minutes. So pretty close. I mean, we were kind of all alone up front, but we pushed each other pretty hard. And so, that was good racing. So we finished at 2 in the morning, and that was UROC. A different UROC this year for sure. It's unfortunate that more runners couldn't show up, but so I just moved up to Vermont actually for the summer. I've got a internship situation and have some housing, so wrapping up the semester. Should do a couple of races up here in the summer, probably some shorter things, mountain races, and have my eyes set on Ultra Trail Haricana in Quebec in September. So that's about it. Hopefully that's informative.
Hi, my name's Aliza LaPierre, and I'm from Richmond, Vermont, and I just ran the UROC 100K down in Virginia. It was my first race back after about a year and a half off because of COVID. So it was really exciting to have the opportunity to get down to Virginia, leave the state of Vermont, and to toe the line with the running community once again. It was definitely nerve-wracking seeing how I hadn't left the state in quite a while, and obviously we've all been concerned about COVID and doing our part. So I was nervous going in just because of the pandemic, but also because I hadn't raced in so long. I had gone after some FKTs locally, but beyond that, really not tested myself against a distance or a clock or fellow competitors. So I went in with an open mind and really wanted to use the race as an opportunity to gauge where I am at this point in the year, how my mind and body are feeling after some time off. And of course, it's always just nice to get out and explore and see different parts of the country, and of course, see new and familiar faces. So with COVID and with some changes came a 5 p.m. start and a different course, which meant we ran a lot more roads than originally anticipated. Luckily, a lot of my training at this point for this year has been on dirt roads, so it worked out quite well. I always loved trails, but my legs and my feet were definitely ready for all that extra pounding. So, the race started off and we had about 3.5 hours of daylight, which was nice to sort of orient myself and get to see other competitors and have some conversations and see their faces before darkness fell. My strategy for the race was to really sort of take it easy the first 20 miles and then sort of see how I was feeling and then get to work after that. Of course, there was some excitement and it was just nice to be out with people, so my pace was a little bit stronger than I had wanted early on, but I think all in all it ended up okay. I ran a fairly consistent race, definitely ran faster in the light. That just typically happens for me, but at no point really felt like I had dug myself into too deep of a hole. Again, I mean, I was out there racing, but it was more just a gauge to see where I'm at and to get some rust knocked off and to take a next step forward. Because the course was changed, we did have a lot of out and backs, which was nice because I got to see a lot of competitors and cheer them on and just really encourage them, and they encouraged me back. And I really have missed the community part of running during COVID, so that was just like almost heartwarming to be back in it and see everybody not only challenging each other but supporting each other. So all in all, my race went well. I finished in I think 10 hours 18 minutes. I didn't really have a time expectation given that this course had never been run. I feel like I went out and put in an honest effort and was happy to come away with the win and come away with some new friends and new experiences, and extremely grateful to Gil and Francesca for doing their best to get the race to come off despite all the hiccups that they encountered, and just happy to be back out there and not sure what's next because my next race has already been canceled, so just keep training and doing what I love, and hopefully I'll get to see everybody soon. Thanks so much.
All right, so May events on deck. We'll just post the ones up for this weekend. May 6th, or this week rather, at least the Bloodroot Ultras in Pittsfield, Vermont. 10-mile, 50K, 50-mile, 100-mile, 200-mile, and 500-mile options. Kick off this week and run through the weekend, I believe. And then May 8th, this weekend, we have Breakneck Point Trail runs. one of mine, a pretty outstanding course based in Beacon, New York. Pretty burly events. The marathon has a pretty signature pitch, which is Breakneck Point, one of the probably most technical pitches you're going to find in the country. It actually probably has two of the most technical pitches, which I think are just a lot of fun. But the elevation gain, I think, is around 8,000 or 9,000 feet for the marathon, and probably around 5,000 for the half marathon. So pretty burly courses, pretty spectacular. Only an hour north of New York City that you'll find that kind of terrain. And so I'm stoked for the weekend. And the Dirty German Endurance Fest, traditionally one of the more popular ones also in our region, going down in Philadelphia, PA, with 25K, 50K, 50-mile options put on by the crew at Uber Endurance Sports. So that is running. So let's see. We got a host of those coming in May, but I don't think I'm going to listen in this episode. But it's going to be a pretty busy month ahead. So that's what's been shaking in the Northeast trail running world. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for taking a moment to share this on any of the other posts that you may be affiliated with, whether it's your regional trail running group or whether it's an East Coast Trail and Ultra, some sort of other posts. I really appreciate you sharing it and getting the word out. Liking our channel, please do that, whether it be Facebook or YouTube. And thanks for the support. All right, some of you I will see on the trails this week. And for the rest of you, I will check you next week. All right. See ya.